Los Angeles Homeless Hell 2025. The City of Tents, Trauma and Total Collapse by StreetSide Witness. I'm walking a block off San Pedro, where tent nylon flaps like prayer flags. The air tastes like smoke and bleach. A shopping cart rattles by. A mobile life in chrome. On a single night this year, Los Angeles County counted 72,308 people without a home, down 4% from last year, yet still staggering. The drop was driven by a 9.5% decrease in people living outdoors, even as shelter numbers ticked up. Across America, homelessness hit a record 771,480 in the federal count, an 18% jump from 2023. Overdose remains the leading killer of unhoused Angelenos, responsible for 45% of deaths in 2023. How did the entertainment capital become a city of tents? Who's responsible? Who's helping? And what would it take, in dollars, in beds, in political will, to turn this around? Stay with me. This isn't trauma porn. It's a map. It's people first. If you care about stories told with receipts, smash that like, subscribe, and share. Join the journey. We'll walk the blocks, ride the buses, sit in the crowded clinics, scan the budgets, and listen. Ready? Let's roll. 1. Rising tide. At sunrise, crews rinse sidewalks where people slept. Water sluices past tent stakes and sandals. The city is cleaner, but is it kinder? Start with scale. In 2025, LA County logged 72,308 people experiencing homelessness. The city accounted for 43,699 of them, a 3.4% decline. Unsheltered homelessness. People in tents, cars, and curbside fell 9.5% countywide. Sheltered rose 8.5%. In 2024, the county counted 75,312, 52,365 unsheltered, 22,947 sheltered. City totals that year were 45,252, 29,275 unsheltered, 15,977 sheltered. Numbers are the wide shot. But a count is one night, not a year-long film. Volunteers fan across blocks with clipboards, apps, and headlamps. They tally tents, RVs, and people sleeping in doorways. They don't catch every sofa, every back seat, every industrial alcove. Single-night estimates show direction, not the whole churn. What changed on the ground? You see fewer nylon domes on some corridors, more motel doors, more pop-up intake sites. The city shifted people indoors even as new people fell into crisis. A drop in tents can mean real placements. It can also mean routes changed or enforcement pushed people aside. One lens shows progress, another shows displacement. Both can be true. Look closer at categories. Unsheltered means no lock, no private bathroom, no stable address. It means weather, noise, and risk. Sheltered ranges from congregate cots to private motel rooms. The step from sidewalk to shelter is massive. The step from shelter to permanent housing is the finish line. We film at dawn in two neighborhoods. On a block downtown, fresh paint covers a wall where a camp stood last month. Across town, a line coils outside an access center. People clutch folders, ID copies, voucher letters, bus passes, staff triage. A handful get beds tonight. Others get wait lists and a promise to call. This is why trend lines feel fragile. A 2-year dip can be a trend, or a mirage. If prevention slows, the inflow wins. If exits speed up, the outflow wins. For now, Los Angeles sits on that edge. When you pass a tent, do you see a statistic or a neighbor? Keisha, merchandiser, South LA, 34. Her breakup meant moving into her Honda. I shower at the gym before shifts, she says. I'm number 47 on the list. I call every Friday. 2. Roots in concrete. The reasons aren't mysterious, they're structural. Rents, wages, and too few doors that people can afford. By Q/2/2024, LA's multifamily vacancy hovered near 5%, a natural level that keeps rents high. Average asking rent in the city today sits around $2,795 a month. Zillow estimates a renter now needs about $100,000 to $18,958 annual income to afford LA rents by the 30% standard. Meanwhile, California's statewide rental vacancy averaged 4.8% in 2024. That math bends lives. When rent eats half a paycheck, one shock becomes a landslide. A missed shift, a blown head gasket, a rent hike. HUD's 2024 national count links the surge to housing costs outpacing incomes. The UCSF statewide study found most people lost housing after a financial shock, not primarily because of addiction or psychosis. Zoom out to policy. For decades, we permitted too few homes near jobs. Zoning fenced off large areas for single units. Construction costs climbed. Timelines stretched, subsidies lagged need. Even when units finally open, the pipeline behind them is thin. The result is a scarcity auction where the poorest always lose. Zoom in to the first month of crisis. People double up on couches. They store duffel bags in friends' hallways. They sleep in cars to keep a job and a semblance of privacy. They try to hold onto IDs, pay stubs, and a car that is both shelter and commute. One ticket or a towed vehicle can end that fragile balance overnight. Prevention is the quiet hero. A small check can keep a family in place. Legal aid can buy time. Mediation can stop a lockout. But prevention programs are often limited, complex, and slow. Rent moves fast. Paperwork doesn't. Yes, mental health and substance use matter. They complicate exits and require care, but the ignition source for most is economic. Lower rents and higher vacancies don't cure every wound. They do shrink the inflow. If rent fell 10%, how many tents vanish? Not all, but how many? Mateo, warehouse picker, Pacoima. 41. He sleeps in a box truck after swing shift. I keep receipts, he says, tapping a zip bag. First and last month deposit, application fees, it adds up. 3rd Street Arithmetic. Daily survival is a spreadsheet of scarcity. Food lines, battery charging. Restrooms that lock at dusk. A bus ride to a clinic. A walk back in the dark. I ride the E-line at dawn. Seats hold backpacks instead of briefcases. A Metro ambassador kneels. Eye level, not eye roll. She offers a granola bar and a card. Outreach teams on transit report connecting 2,709 riders to interim or permanent housing in fiscal 2025. Metro estimates a 37 to 39% drop in people experiencing homelessness on trains and buses year over year. Connections are not endings. A connection can mean a warm handoff, a motel, or a wait list. Some step inside, some disappear, some come back tomorrow. Across the region's rehousing system, 27,994 people moved into permanent housing in 2024, the most on record. That headline matters. So do the 100 daily frictions between survival and stability. Morning math starts with power. Phone at 12%. Find an outlet. Guard your bag while it charges. Keep your ID in a zip pocket. Dry. Skip breakfast to save bus fare. Borrow a tap card for the clinic, then hoof it back. I watch a man shave in a station restroom. He cups water from a slow faucet. His razor lives in a film canister. He hums to steady his hand. He's late for a day labor line, but he wants to feel human first. Overdose stays the leading killer of unhoused Angelenos. In 2023, drugs and alcohol accounted for 45% of deaths. County-wide overdose deaths fell to 2,438 in 2024, down from 3,137 in 2023, with fentanyl deaths dropping 37%. That is a rare good curve. Credit naloxone, outreach, and peers who refuse to look away. But life after revival needs a door, a lock, a case manager who calls back, a pharmacy that fills buprenorphine without delay, a clinic that knows your name and pronounces it right. Recovery hates chaos. The street is chaos. We follow an outreach nurse under the overpass. She opens a backpack like a field hospital. Narcan, test strips, wound care, socks. She speaks softly, like you do in libraries and ICU rooms. No sermon, just options. Dre, custodian, Skid Row, 38. He cleans lots by day. At night, he guards a tent with a broom handle. I carry Narcan. I used it 3 times last winter. He says, what's your first thought when you see someone nodding off? A life or a nuisance? 4th, Frayed Trust. Trust is the currency. Lose it and people won't come inside. Break it and the whole system pays. The Supreme Court's 2024 Grants Pass ruling widened city authority to enforce camping bans. In Los Angeles, Municipal Code 41.18 restricts sitting, lying, or sleeping in designated areas and near sensitive sites. On paper, it's a boundary. On sidewalks, it's a shove and a choice. Enforcement rose in late 2024. LAPD data shows 68% more camping and homelessness-related arrests in the second half of that year than the first. From 2021 through December 13, 2024, the city recorded 4,361.4118 arrests. The numbers don't reveal tone, timing, or whether a warning became cuffs. They draw the outline. They miss the face. We arrive at a scheduled cleanup. Sanitation trucks idle. Outreach staff walk ahead with clipboards. They offer storage, referrals, motel rooms, if available. Tents collapse like lungs. People stack their lives into bins and carts. Some accept rides, others refuse. Many ask the same question: will my stuff still be here? Advocates say criminalization pushes people out of sight without solving the lack of housing. Parents and shopkeepers counter that rules protect access to schools, parks, and storefronts. None of these views cancel the others. Everyone wants safety. Everyone wants dignity. The fight is over whose safety counts first. Policy language rarely captures the texture of trust. Trust is the outreach worker who returns when she says she will. Trust is a bed that exists at the end of the van ride. Trust is not a promise that dissolves at intake because the line jumped or funding paused. A missed promise has a half-life. It decays slowly, poisoning the next offer. People who've lost everything hold tight to control. Saying no is one of the last controls left. Marisol, outreach worker, Boyle Heights, 44. She keeps laminated shelter maps in her bag. If I break a promise about a bed once, it'll take months to rebuild trust, she says. If your only bathroom was a park restroom closed at 7 p.m., where would you go? 5. Body and mind. The waiting room is standing room only. A portable BP cuff beeps. A nurse hands out naloxone and socks. A clipboard shuffles down the line. On this corner, medicine is mobile. A folding table becomes triage. Wound wash, clean gauze, glucose tabs. And a neighbor's wrist gets wrapped. Another neighbor asks about detox. The nurse prints a referral and circles a bus route. "Come early," she whispers. "Beds go fast." The body keeps the score of street life. Sun, cold, concrete, stress. Feet split and blister. Teeth ache. Chest colds turn into walking pneumonia. Small cuts fester without a sink, soap, or privacy. Rest is medicine, but rest is scarce. LA County Public Health says 2,023 deaths among unhoused residents were driven most by overdoses, 45%, with infections and trauma behind. Overdose is the headline. But the subheads are everywhere. Abscesses, COPD, hypertension left wild. When care is episodic, everything becomes urgent. Another curve is rising. Hepatitis A spiked 165 to 167 cases since 2024, tripling the prior year and triggering an outbreak declaration. Outreach teams push hand washing where faucets don't exist. They box up vaccines and chase the virus block by block. Street medicine is scaling to meet reality. One USC team recorded 1,000 patient visits in a single month of 2024. They carry buprenorphine, antibiotics, and empathy. They write names on index cards. When phones die, they return, because returning is the treatment plan. Serious mental illness is significant but not universal. In the 2024 LA count, 24% of unhoused adults self-reported living with SMIs. Statewide research finds high rates of mental health symptoms, yet housing costs remain the chief precipitant into homelessness. It's not either or, it's both and. Treat the mind, lower the rent, add a door. Overdose trends show motion. Countywide overdose deaths fell to 2,438 in 2024, from 3,137 in 2023. Fentanyl deaths dropped 37%. Credit naloxone, medication-assisted treatment, and peers who carry kits like first aid saints. Still, naloxone is a pause button, not an ending. After revival, people need quiet, a bed, a shower, a lock, a plan. Discharge to shelter can work. Discharge to a sidewalk often fails. Pills get stolen, dressings get dirty. Follow-up evaporates. Continuity collapses without an address. Healthcare is a system. The street is a rupture. Grace, retired caregiver, Venice, 67. 2 winters outside. A motel voucher got her indoors. I sleep 6 hours now, she smiles. Haven't done that since 2021. Rhetorical check-in. When illness is treated but the patient is discharged to a sidewalk, is that care? 6th system overload. Hospitals, jails, shelters, each is a pressure valve hissing. When housing fails, every other system pays the bill. At county hospitals, hallways hold gurneys like a second waiting room. Security guards learn first names. Social workers juggle clipboards and hope. California hospitals recorded 872,966 encounters with patients experiencing homelessness in 2021 to 2022, including 639,744 ER visits. That's not a side story. That's a surge. The clinical math is brutal. ERs stabilize crises that housing could have prevented. A hospital can clear an infection. It can't hand out leases. Discharge planners hunt for a bed, then settle for a shelter, then settle for a bus token and a prayer. Regional providers say homeless ER visits remain a small but growing slice of overall load, yet the growth strains staff and budgets. Burnout climbs, moral injury follows. The people doing the lifting feel the weight. Interim shelters run hot. A city performance report pegged occupancy around the 80 to 90% range across key programs in 2025. Waiting lists stretch. Meanwhile, the city documented 18,077 open occupiable interim beds against 45,252 unhoused city residents in 2024. A more than 2-to-1 gap. Even if every bed filled tonight, thousands would still sleep outside. We sit with a shelter director during intake. Phones ring. A client needs a wheelchair repair before curfew. Another needs insulin. Another lost an ID and can't check in. Staff triage needs like an ER minus the CT scanner and pharmacy. Enforcement adds friction. Post-grants pass, many California cities reported increases in citations and arrests tied to camping or lodging laws. LA saw a late 2024 rise in such arrests, even as officials said policy hadn't changed. Each citation risks a cascade: impounded belongings, missed court, a bench warrant, a lost spot on a housing list. Momentum stalls. The jail is not a detox center. The sidewalk is not a discharge plan. The shelter is not a home. Yet each becomes a substitute when housing supply lags. Systems meant for emergencies become long-term workarounds. Paramedics describe the loop: revive, release, repeat. Outreach describes another loop: engage, promise, search, return. Everyone loops until a key breaks the circle. Should scarce police time be a homelessness policy? 7. Budgets and bets. Money matters. How much, where, and with what results? LASA's approved budget for fiscal year 2024 to 2025 was about $914.8 million. The city says it invests nearly $1 billion per year in the regional response. Mayor Bass's inside safe had $216 million in 2024 to 25 budget authority, spanning city funds and state grants. Countywide, Measure H, the 0.25% sales tax approved in 2017, has generated $500+ million annually in recent years. In 2025, voters replaced it with Measure A, with 2025 to 26 revenue projections down $35 million year over year, creating a $66 million gap for priority programs. Prop HHHH's pipeline delivered 2,960 permanent supportive housing units in 2024, helping push permanent placements to 27,994 that year. HomeKey has funded about 15,850 homes statewide. LA County's slice includes 2,053 units across 32 projects by mid-2025. Budgets are moral documents, but they're also math. When revenue dips, programs pause. When programs pause, tents return. Would you pay a penny more in sales tax if it meant everyone had a bed? 8. Myths and shadows. Stigma thrives in shadows. So let's drag it into the light. Myth: most unhoused people are dangerous. Evidence says people experiencing homelessness are more likely to be victims of violent crime than perpetrators. Myth: everyone is addicted or mentally ill. In 2024, 24% self-reported SMI in the LA count. Statewide research finds complexity, with high symptoms but varied use patterns. Myth: enforcement solves homelessness. Human Rights Watch cataloged how punitive approaches shuffle people without resolving housing. Cities point to safety and access concerns. Sunita, retail worker, Koreatown. 29, she's newly sheltered. My rent went up $400, she says. I slept in my car for 6 weeks. No drugs, just debt. Two truths can coexist. Sidewalks should be passable. People sleeping on them are still neighbors. The work is to hold both truths without vilifying either side. If you learned your unhoused neighbor was a full-time worker, would it change your view? 9. Sparks and solutions. Hope looks like a key in a palm. It sounds like sleep. Inside Safe and County Pathway Home Report, bringing 6,317 people into interim housing and 1,449 into permanent housing since launch combined. City data show nearly 7,400 Angelenos moved from interim to permanent housing in 2024, up by approximately 1,500 over 2023 and nearly double 2022. Metro's outreach cut visible homelessness on the system by nearly 40% in a year. Homekey and HHH continue adding units. Street medicine expands. It's not all smooth. Audits triggered moves to tighten control of spending and contracts. City leaders are exploring bypassing LASA for some direct service agreements after mismanagement findings, even as the 2025 count showed progress. Systems evolve, sometimes messily. Hector Dish Prep San Pedro, 52. He holds a motel key. It's not the Ritz, he shrugs, but I can shower before work. He saved $300 in 2 months. That's hope. If outcomes rise while encampments shrink, what's the one program you'd scale first? Pataw de Viday column. Los Angeles stands at a hinge. 2 years of declines could bend into a lasting arc or snap back. Policy levers ahead. Measure. Of funding must bridge a $66 million program deficit in fiscal year 2025 through 2026 while keeping shelters staffed and subsidies flowing. Care court petitions number in the low thousands statewide so far. The jury's still out on long-term outcomes. SB 43 conservatorship changes are delayed in LA until 2026, balancing civil rights with urgent need. Meanwhile, the rent math still rules. LA's average rent near $2,795. Affordability requires incomes near $119,000. Want a North Star? Fewer deaths, fewer tents, more doors. Document it with transparency. Distinguish sheltered from unsheltered in every metric. Fund what is proven. Housing placements, housing retention, and prevention. Tomorrow morning, what will you do? Call your council office, volunteer, vote, or look away. This city gave the world dreams on film. It can give its neighbors a key. Join the journey. Share this. Let's prove decline can be more than a trend line. Smash that, like if facts matter. Subscribe for the next chapter in our Homeless in America series. Comment with what you want audited next: budgets, shelters, or street medicine. And if you're in LA, consider supporting a credible housing nonprofit today.